Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
In August 2025, very heavy rain caused a sudden, terrible flood in South Asia. This flood quickly changed many lives in countries like India and Pakistan. It brought a lot of sadness and destruction to many communities. The story starts in the quiet village of Chositi, located in Kashmir. Early one morning, on August 14th, what started as normal rain turned into a disaster. Over 200 Hindu pilgrims were gathered there, enjoying food at a large community kitchen. Without warning, a huge wall of water rushed down from the nearby mountains. It destroyed the kitchen along with many vehicles and homes. Rescue teams worked hard and found 60 bodies in the mud. Around 80 more people were still missing, and it was feared they had also died. At the same time, in Pakistan, across the border, hundreds of people faced their own nightmare. Mohammed Suhail, a spokesperson for the emergency services in Pakistan, reported many deaths. In just one area called Buner, 157 people died. In total, 243 people died in Pakistan in only 2 days because of the floods. Since June, over 550 people had died from rain-related problems across the country. This huge disaster affected many families. One person, a pilgrim named Sneha, lost her husband and daughter in the floods in Kashmir. They were eating at the community kitchen when the water took them. Sneha was very sad. Her story, and many others like it, showed the deep pain and loss that this wide-reaching flood caused. It was a disaster that truly showed the large scale of nature's power and the huge suffering it brought to both nations. 2. Why the rain was so bad. The severe floods were caused by a weather event called a cloudburst. A cloudburst means an extreme amount of rain falls in a very short time, but only over a small part of the land. Think of it like a huge bucket of water being poured out all at once, instead of slowly emptying. This is very different from regular rain, which usually falls gently for many hours or even days. When a cloudburst happens, the ground simply cannot soak up so much water so quickly. Rivers also cannot handle the sudden huge amount of water. This leads to very fast and dangerous flash floods. Scientists have studied why these cloudbursts happen and why they are so powerful. For example, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, a leading meteorologist, explained that cloudbursts are like opening a fire hydrant in the sky. This happens when warm, wet air rises quickly into the sky, often in areas with tall mountains. As this air goes up, it cools and forms large, dark clouds. Then, all the water inside these clouds falls down in one strong, concentrated burst. The shape of the land in mountainous regions makes these floods much more dangerous. The valleys are often narrow, and the hillsides are very steep. When a lot of water comes down quickly, these narrow valleys act like funnels, pushing the floodwater with incredible speed and power. Small streams can become raging rivers in minutes, carrying heavy rocks, fallen trees, and other debris that can destroy everything in their path. The ground itself in these areas also adds to the problem. The mountains here are relatively new, meaning their rocks are not as hard as older mountains. They are made of soft rock types that break easily when hit by intense rain. So, when cloudbursts hit, they do more than just cause floods. They also often trigger landslides. A landslide is when a lot of soil and rocks suddenly slide down a mountain. These landslides can block rivers, creating temporary dams. If these dams break, even bigger waves of water and mud can rush downstream, causing more widespread destruction. This mix of intense rain, steep slopes, and easily broken rocks makes the floods incredibly dangerous for people living in these mountain regions. 3. A big flood in Pakistan. The big flood hit Pakistan very hard, especially in its northern and northwestern regions. These areas are important for the country's economy, but are also easily hurt by strong weather. One place, Buner district, faced terrible loss. On one Friday, 157 people died there. In just 2 days, the total number of flood-related deaths across Pakistan reached 243. Since June 26, the floods had already killed 556 people across the country, showing a very serious situation. In Buner, local authorities declared a state of emergency. Rescue teams worked very hard, using boats and helicopters to reach people stuck in the water. Ambulances took more than 100 bodies to hospitals. Many more villagers were still missing, and officials thought the death count would keep growing as they searched remote areas. It was very difficult for rescuers to work because the mountains and fast-moving water made travel dangerous. Many visitors were also caught in the disaster. In the Sidran Valley, over 1,300 tourists became trapped by flash flooding and landslides. These people had come to the cooler, northern areas for holidays, even though the government had given warnings about bad weather. Rescuers worked for many hours to save about 2,000 tourists in total. The ground was unstable, and the bad weather often made them stop their work, making it harder to help people. The Karakoram Highway, a very important road, was badly damaged. This road connects Pakistan and China and is used for trade and travel. It is also the main way for tourists to visit the country's large glaciers in the north. Many landslides had already happened on this road since July. The August flood made the problem much worse, blocking this key way for business and travel. The danger for rescue workers was very real. In the northwestern Bajour region, a helicopter carrying help and supplies crashed because of bad weather. All 5 people on board, including 2 pilots, died. This sad event showed the big risks that brave rescue workers faced every day trying to help others. The flood brought much sadness and many challenges to Pakistan. 4. A sad time in Kashmir. In Indian-administered Kashmir, a very sad event happened during the heavy rains. Many people were on a special religious journey. This journey took them to a holy place high in the mountains. A village called Chositi was an important stop along the way. It was where people gathered before going further up. The floods came when many pilgrims were there, at the peak of the pilgrimage season. Over 200 people were eating at a big community kitchen. This kitchen provided food for the pilgrims. Suddenly, without warning, a huge amount of water crashed down from the mountains above. The water moved with great force, sweeping away the community kitchen in minutes. It also took many cars, motorbikes, and homes that were close by. Rescue teams worked hard in the mud and debris. They found 60 bodies, but about 80 people were still missing. Many feared these missing people were also gone. The rescue operation in the mountains was very difficult. The land was steep and dangerous, filled with mud, uprooted trees, and large rocks. Harvinder Singh, a local resident, joined the efforts and helped retrieve many bodies from the thick mud. Because conditions were so dangerous, rescue work had to stop at night. It was too risky for the teams. During the day, officials used big machines called earth movers to clear the heavy debris. They also built quick, makeshift bridges to help stranded pilgrims cross dangerous, muddy water channels. The scale of help needed was huge. On the first day, at least 300 people were rescued after the initial cloudburst. Over the next day, almost 4,000 pilgrims were safely evacuated from different parts of the forested area. Many of the injured, around 50 people, were pulled from streams full of mud. They needed urgent medical care, putting a strain on local hospitals. Because of the widespread destruction and danger, the special religious journey had to be stopped. This was a very sad decision for everyone. The annual pilgrimage holds deep religious meaning for many people. It also provides important income for the local communities that rely on visitors. The ending of the journey was a clear sign of how much the flood had hurt the region. 5. A changing world. The world is facing big changes, and scientists say climate change is a main reason. Global warming means the Earth's average temperature is getting higher. This warmer air can hold much more water. So, when it rains, especially during heavy storms, the rainfall can be far heavier than before. Experts, such as Dr. Friederike Otto, a climate scientist at Imperial College London, explain this. She notes that for every 1 degree Celsius the world warms, the atmosphere can hold about 7% more water vapor. This simple fact helps us understand why we see more intense rain. This change directly affects South Asia, where bad weather events are now happening more frequently and with greater power. Scientists have looked closely at this worrying trend. A study by World Weather Attribution, a group of international climate scientists, showed that rainfall was 10 to 15% heavier due to global warming. Future predictions suggest a big increase in very strong one-day rainfalls in the region. This means that extreme events, like the recent devastating flood, are likely to become much more common. The yearly monsoon rains in South Asia, which are vital for farming and water supply, are also changing. For thousands of years, the monsoon brought steady, moderate rain over several months. People had learned to live with this important pattern. However, climate change is making the monsoons less predictable and more intense. Instead of steady rain, there are often longer dry periods followed by sudden, very heavy rain bursts. Professor Raghu Murtagude, an atmospheric and oceanic scientist from the University of Maryland, notes that the monsoon is becoming less reliable and more dangerous for communities across the region. Another major factor adding to the flood risk comes from the mountains. The Himalayas, which cross both India and Pakistan, hold many large glaciers. As global temperatures rise, these glaciers are melting at a faster speed. This melting ice forms new lakes, often unstable ones, high in the mountains. These glacial lakes can suddenly burst, releasing huge amounts of water and debris down the valleys below. This phenomenon, known as glacial lake outburst flooding, increases the danger of floods for people living downstream. The combination of heavier rainfall, changing monsoons, and melting glaciers creates a very serious problem for the entire region. These events clearly show how much our world is truly changing and the new challenges communities now face. 6. Why people were not safe. The big flood brought much sadness and loss, making many people wonder, why were we not safe? There were several important reasons why the systems meant to keep people safe did not work well during this disaster. One main problem was how quickly the flood happened. These were flash floods, meaning a lot of water came down very fast, in just minutes. The old warning systems were not made for such quick events. They were better for floods that grew slowly over many days. So there was simply not enough time to warn people. It was also very hard to send these quick warnings to remote villages. Many mountain areas have poor phone signals or no easy way to get messages out quickly. By the time any warning might have reached them, the flood waters were already there, causing destruction. Cities also faced issues because their drainage systems were old. These systems were built decades ago when there was less rain and fewer people. They could not handle the very large amounts of water that fell during the heavy cloudburst. This meant water quickly filled streets and homes, overwhelming everything. Important roads were another weak point. Main roads, like the large highway connecting Pakistan and China, were easily broken. Landslides and floodwaters damaged these key routes. This made it very hard for rescue teams to reach people who needed help. It also stopped food, medicine, and other aid from getting to affected areas, hurting trade and travel. Furthermore, many people had built their homes in dangerous places. Over the years, more and more houses appeared in valleys or next to rivers, areas known to flood. People settled in these risky spots, sometimes without proper plans or checks for safety. This put them directly in the path of the flood, increasing the danger to their lives and property. Even the environment played a role. When trees were cut down on mountainsides, the ground could not soak up or hold water as well. This made the floods worse and led to more landslides. Some large building projects, such as dams built for electricity, may have also changed the natural flow of water, adding to the risk. In summary, a combination of very fast and heavy rain, outdated warning systems, overwhelmed city drains, fragile roads, and homes built in risky areas all contributed to why people were not safe during this terrible flood. 7. The cost of the flood. The big flood brought many sad costs to the people. Many lost homes and loved ones. In Kashmir, a woman named Sneha lost her husband and young daughter quickly. They were eating at a community kitchen when the water rushed down. It was a moment of great sadness. Harvinder Singh, a brave local, helped immediately, finding many bodies from the mud. In Pakistan, over 1,300 tourists got stuck in a valley. They came for holiday but faced great danger. Rescue teams worked many hours to save them. Sadly, 5 rescue workers died when their helicopter crashed while bringing aid, showing the big risks faced by rescuers. Their bravery in dangerous conditions was clear. The flood's money cost was very high. Tourism in both countries suffered badly. In Pakistan, northern areas usually see many visitors in August. The flood made hotels and shops lose a lot of money. In Kashmir, the important religious journey stopped, meaning less income for locals who depend on pilgrims. Farms faced big problems, as floodwaters damaged fields and irrigation. This could mean less food and less income for farmers. Important roads broke, making travel and trade difficult. The Karakoram Highway, a main trade road between Pakistan and China, closed many times. This caused more money problems and slowed business. Sadly, India and Pakistan worked alone to fight the disaster. They did not cooperate much, even though both countries faced similar problems. Each nation focused on its own land and people. This made it harder to help everyone and recover. If they had worked together, sharing information, things might have been better. The flood showed how this lack of teamwork cost both nations a great deal. 8. What we must learn. The big flood in August 2025 was a very sad event. It caused much pain and loss. This disaster was not just nature being strong. It also showed us that people made mistakes in how they planned and prepared. It showed a lack of global responsibility, too. Many people died, and this tragedy could have been prevented if things were done differently. South Asia, where this flood happened, is a place that feels the effects of climate change very much. Countries like Pakistan have caused very little of the world's climate problems by releasing few harmful gases. Yet, they are among the countries that suffer the most from changes in the weather. This is a big problem of fairness. The world is getting warmer, and this makes heavy rains and strong floods happen more often. The monsoon rains, which are usually good for farming, are now changing and becoming more dangerous. This means the world must help these countries that are hurt the most. To stop such terrible events from happening again, we must learn many important lessons. One key lesson is the need for much better planning. Cities and villages need strong rules about where people can build homes. It is not safe to build in places where floods always happen. Also, buildings themselves must be stronger. They need to be able to stand against the force of fast-moving water. The old drainage systems in towns and cities were not built for so much rain. They often fill up quickly, making floods worse. These systems need to be fixed, made wider, and made ready for more water. Another big lesson is the need for more cooperation between countries. India and Pakistan are neighbors, and they both face similar dangers from floods. If they share information about coming bad weather, like big storms, and work together on rescue plans, they can help each other. Weather does not stop at a country's border, so working together is a smart way to save more lives and reduce damage. This means sharing weather forecasts, helping with rescue teams, and planning together for future events. Early warning systems also need to be much better. The floods came very quickly, like the cloudbursts that caused them. People need warnings in minutes, not hours, to get to a safe place. Current warning systems are often too slow for these sudden floods. New technologies and ways of sending warnings quickly to remote villages are needed. Everyone must also know exactly what to do when a flood warning comes. They need clear instructions to keep safe. Finally, the whole world has a role to play. Richer countries that have caused most of the climate change must help poorer countries like Pakistan and India. This help can be money for new infrastructure, sharing new ways to build safely, or teaching people how to prepare better. This is not just about one flood that happened. It is about protecting many people in the future from similar events. The disaster was a sad reminder. We must learn from it so that fewer lives are lost next time. What do you think is the most important lesson we should learn from this flood story, and why?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.